What would you do if one day you meet a girl, time passes, and you fall in love with her? You start a relationship and everything is going well, but then out of nowhere, she leaves and breaks up with you. You go looking for her all the way across the world, only to find out that she already has a boyfriend. Some of you might have a similar story, so grab your tissues and watch this anime with me. Well, that's what the anime Kimi no Irumachi is about. It all starts with our main guy, Haruto, who moves to Tokyo to stay at his sister's place in search of his beloved, but we'll talk about that later. He arrives at the apartment and mistakes someone for a thief, but it's Asuka, his sister's neighbor. We are also introduced to Kazama, Azuka's friend. Since they went to the same school, they went out to socialize and bought something for dinner. He goes to school, shy, and they introduce him. Kazama says he makes great food, but it didn't really work out because he was down as the girl he liked didn't reply. Kazama sees him and tries to smooth things over by suggesting he join a club, but Haruto doesn't want to and heads home alone. When he gets there, he runs into Asuka, so he invites her to eat. She notices that Haruto is being really antisocial, so she encourages him to be friendlier with his schoolmates. When Haruto sees that she's worried about him, he takes it to heart and smiles, which makes Asuka a bit embarrassed. Everything is going well until one day, on his way out, he runs into a girl, Rin, who is his beloved's younger sister. Surprised to see him, she thinks he's a stalker for coming to Tokyo. He explains he just wanted to know why she broke up with him. Rin confirms that her sister already has a boyfriend, and our main guy feels a bit down, but he keeps his cool and walks her home. We go back to the past and meet Eva, who moved in with our main guy in a little town in Hiroshima. His mother introduces them and says that she is the daughter of a great friend of his father, so she leaves him in charge of her. They go out to buy something, and they always got stuck on our main guy's bike, so Eva would get really excited about the scenery. But when they arrive, they run into Nanami, and Haruto gets a bit nervous. Eva goes to greet her and introduces herself, saying that she was the one who lived with Haruto. Nanami is surprised. Haruto explains they attend the same school. Eva notices Haruto likes Nanami. They head home, and Eva realizes what's going on. It seems like Haruto has a crush on Nanami. They start to get a bit more comfortable with each other, and Haruto asks her why she came. To answer him, she says she had come a while back and really liked the town. When they get home, Eva falls into a pond while playing with a fish and ends up getting soaked. After a few minutes, Eva wanted to go to the supermarket to buy something and asked Haruto if he could take her. But since the walk was so long, Haruto asked her what she wanted to buy, and Eva got a bit embarrassed and said she needed to buy some underwear. Haruto felt embarrassed after hearing something and ran into Takashi. Thinking Eva wasn't wearing anything, he told her to go ahead. They shop quickly to avoid Takashi noticing. Eva finds Haruto's behavior odd. A gust of wind. They finish shopping and hurry out as fast as they can so Takashi doesn't notice anything. On the way, Eva gets off because she finds Haruto's behavior really weird. Then a strong gust of wind blows, and it ends up exposing Eva completely. That's when Haruto realizes he was wrong and tells Eva that he thought she wasn't wearing anything, which is why they rushed out. They both start laughing. The next day, they go to the school welcome ceremony, and to avoid any rumors between them, Haruto leaves the bike at the supermarket and they run off. When they arrive, she tells him that almost everyone knows each other at school since it's a small town. That's when they meet Carrie, our main guy's friend. The ceremony ends, and Haruto rushes to the supermarket to meet Eva, but to his surprise, she's not there. So he runs into Nanami, they chat a bit, and start to get a little more comfortable with each other. Suddenly, they hear Eva scream, and they rush to help her, only to find her covered in bugs. Haruto helps her get them off, and realizing he ruined the moment between him and Nanami, he invites her to a hot spring. When they arrive, they start talking about girl stuff, and Haruto feels a bit embarrassed because he can hear everything. They finish up, and Nanami finds Haruto playing with the fan and laughs, so she joins in. They have a juice, and after a few minutes, he realizes that Eva has fainted because she couldn't handle the heat of the place. Everyone heads home, and on the way, Haruto realizes everything Eva had done for him to have a moment with Nanami. He notices that it seems like she cares more about other people than about herself. The next day, Haruto was making lunch, and they rushed off to school because they were going to be late. Eva thought he was in a bad mood, so she was a bit mad at him. What they didn't know was that Haruto was sick, as he fainted right in the middle of class. He wakes up at home, and Nanami comes to visit him, which makes him happy to see her. That's when Eva realizes that Haruto was worried about her while he was sick, and she gets jealous of Nanami. After a few minutes, Nanami gets a call, and Eva starts complaining because she didn't want Haruto to worry more about her than about his own health. So, she takes advantage of the moment and steals a kiss. After a few minutes, Nami comes in, and since our main guy was in bed, she thought he was asleep, so she heads home. Just then, Haruto starts arguing with her about the kiss she stole, saying she didn't consider his feelings. They fight so hard that Eva pushes him, and they decide that he wouldn't take her to school anymore. Haruto's dad took Eva to school. That night, Takashi calls and learns no one picked her up. He finds Eva on the road, and she cries, realizing she was scared of being alone. Eva isn't home, and Ray will message when she returns. He finds her in the middle of the road, and when Eva sees him, she breaks down in tears, telling him that without him, she didn't know what to do. That's when she realizes she was trying to be brave, but in reality, she was just a big crybaby because she was scared of being alone, and that's why she went to Tokyo to look for him. We return to the present, and it seems that Eva wasn't home, so Rei tells him he'll message him when she gets back. She goes to school, and Azuka worries about her school life, saying she needs to make more friends. Then Nagoi, a friend of Asuka, shows up and invites her to a school festival. Azuka replies that she can't because she has a soccer game, but our main guy, upon hearing the name of the school, aggressively insists on going with her since it seems like Eva studies there. Nagochi agrees, a bit scared, and Kazama realizes from a distance that the whole drama was about a girl. In the end, he runs into Kazama while he's fixing his motorcycle, and Kazama tells him he also had tickets, but whatever, he wishes him good luck. The day arrives, and he meets up with Nagoshi, and they head to the school fair. He starts looking for Eva everywhere while chatting with Rin to get directions on where she might be. They head to the haunted house and Nagoshi gets so scared that he slips and this happens. He is scared by a ghost and that ghost was Eva. They step away and run into Kazama, who is talking to a girl. Out of nowhere, he gets a message from Rin saying that Eva is in the haunted house. Upon hearing this, Haruto runs to look for her, but with so many people around, he can't find her. He heads to the classroom and is about to give up when he finally spots her. He tells her he was really worried since he hadn't seen her in a while. That's when Eva tells him she thought that by distancing herself from him, he would forget about her over time. But she realized she needed to say it to his face and not through a text message, which is why she tells him to leave her alone because she's already seeing someone else. Obviously, this crushed our main guy, and Kazama sees it. He realizes what happened, so he takes him out for a ride on his motorcycle to distract him. After a few minutes, they get off to chat for a bit, and Haruto tells him all about his beloved Zweitausendian. Kazama tries to calm him down and tells him he'll support him no matter what. Somehow, this makes our main guy feel better as it reminds him of his childhood friends. Kazama tells him that he wants to be a professional motorcycle racer and encourages him to open a restaurant to promote it all over the world. This really motivates our main guy, and he feels happy hearing it. They were about to leave when out of nowhere, Kazama faints and falls on top of the motorcycle. They take him to the hospital and within a few hours he wakes up feeling completely normal. Haruto obviously complains about how serious the situation was and finds out that he had an illness. Kazama tells him it wasn't anything serious, which eases his mind a bit. A few minutes later, Saka comes running in to check on him and gets mad when she sees that Kazama is so carefree, especially since our main guy looks a bit down. Kazama explains to her that he's feeling this way because of his ex-girlfriend, who left him for someone else. Asuka understands the situation, but she gets mad at Haruto for being such a wuss, since they were treating him like a toy. Haruto didn't know what to do, so Kazama motivates him and says he's going to support him in everything. Meanwhile, someone was rushing up the stairs, and when the door opened, it was Eva. Haruto sees her and is stunned by what's happening, realizing that Kazama is Eva's current boyfriend. Asuka is amazed by Eva's beauty and introduces herself. Eva does the same, realizing Kazama is clueless. To avoid awkwardness, she leaves with Asuka. Haruto, realizing the situation he was in, had given up, so he tells her that he is not going to try anything, making Azuka a little happy, since she apparently had feelings for him. Later that night, he gets a message from Eva explaining that Kazama was a guy who confessed to her a while back and wanted to try dating her, leaving our main guy in the dust. We go back to the past, and at school, Eva and Haruto started arguing because they forgot their lunch. Nanami sees them and thinks it's a couple's argument, so to avoid the awkwardness, she steps away. Haruto realizes this and wants to know what Takashi thinks, and it seems he also sees them as a couple, so he decides to clear things up with Nanami. He runs into her in the classroom and takes the chance to clear things up, but in the end, he ends up confusing her even more, to the point where she thinks he likes Eva. They go to work in the afternoon, and Haruto starts talking to Takashi about the misunderstanding with Eva, but since he couldn't change the past, he gives up. Eva was practicing riding her bike, but she kept falling. Haruto helps her and asks her why she tried so hard, so she answers that she simply wanted his recognition. Haruto is confused because he didn't understand what she was saying until Eva confesses her feelings and tells him that she was doing all this because she was attracted to him. She adds that she will do everything she can to win him over. They go home, and everyone starts reminiscing about their childhood until they come across a photo with Eva in it. Haruto doesn't remember what happened, so he goes to read his childhood diary, and as he reads, he recalls how he met Eva. It was at a festival. She had gotten lost and was crying, so he offered her an apple to calm her down. They spent the whole night together and went to watch the fireworks. Later, they joined up with the other kids, and to wrap up the night, they took a commemorative photo. Eva finds him looking at the pictures and feels happy remembering it all, and that's when she confesses to Haruto that she came all the way from Tokyo to see him. Back in the present, Haruto goes to find her, and they start talking about the past. He thinks there's something she hasn't told him, and they discuss Kazama. Kazama always tried to socialize with her, inviting her to eat or join his group, but she was too shy to accept, until one day he tells her that he wants to spend more time with her, and as the whole class heard, they began to bother him. But Eva, seeing his reaction, had no choice but to smile. One day, Eva goes to eat alone and sees a hateful message from her sister in her lunch. Apparently, she had family problems and was always treated poorly. She starts crying, and just before she can eat, Kazama walks in, having heard her crying, and he comforts her. Eva hugs him, and Kazama promises to help her at all times. She told Haruto this story, and she also mentioned that a few days ago she found out she had an illness, a serious one that only gave her a few months to live. That's why she decided to support him just like he supported her in that moment, which is why she tells Haruto to forget about her and runs off. On the way home, he runs into Asuka and tells her he needs some advice, but he doesn't really know what to say exactly. He tells her that if things keep going this way, he'll be the one most affected, encouraging him to make a decision. The next day, Haruto tells Kazama the whole truth, and he's shocked to hear that he took his recent friend's girlfriend. He asks Eva if what Haruto said is true, and she confirms it. That's when Haruto declares war, saying he's going to take Eva out of Kazama's hands. Asuka finds out about this and, crying, starts taking it out on Haruto because he couldn't let Kazama be happy in the little time he has left to live. But Haruto thought he only had this option because if he didn't, he would end up hating Kazama over time, and he didn't want that. The atmosphere was a bit awkward, but still, Haruto decides to support Kazama by bringing him some food. He also brings a little for Eva, but she was so uncomfortable that she didn't want to eat anything. Hours go by, and Haruto and Asuka leave. Eva also has to go, but before she does, Kazama gives her some of Haruto's food, and tasting it brings back memories of the past. On the way, Eva runs into Haruto, and he calls her out on her expression, saying that she used to always be happy, and that smile was what made him fall for her. So, he encourages her to smile more to make Kazama happy. A few days later, Haruto goes to the hospital to see Kazama, and out of nowhere, Kiyomi shows up. Apparently, there was a surgery that could save him, but it was very risky, so risky that he could die trying. They started arguing about it, and Eva stands up, saying it was Kazama's decision whether he wanted to do it or not. Hearing this, Kiyomi goes and hits her because it seemed like no one wanted to do anything for Kazama and they were just digging their own graves. She steps away, and Haruto walks with her. That's when he realizes that Kiyomi loved Kazama, but he never paid attention to her because he was always following Eva. Haruto decides to tell Kazama everything about Eva, and they both empathize with each other since they are quite similar. However, he makes it clear that they can't interfere in a decision that isn't theirs to make. He returns to the hospital, and just before opening the door, he realizes that Eva was having a good time with him. This makes him a bit sad because he finally saw her smile after a long time. A few days later, Kazama recovers and goes back to school. To celebrate, he decides to grab a drink with Haruto. They head up to the rooftop and start talking. Haruto asks him why he seems sad, and Kazama explains that he's realized the truth. Eva really enjoys being with him, and he likes seeing her happy. But Kazama responds that he feels happy when he talks about Haruto, which leads him to think that maybe Eva is only with him because he's sick. So, he decides to go through with the surgery and thinks it's right to tell our main guy first. Later on, when he's lived for many more years, he'll figure out if Eva truly loves him or not. Kazama dies after surgery. Haruto mourns, seeing Kazama's helmet, a symbol of their bond. Eva gives. Haruto says goodbye to his friend and breaks down seeing the helmet, realizing Kazama remembered him by reserving a spot for his restaurant. Later, Haruto is down when Eva calls, wanting to meet in a park. When Eva arrives, she hands over Kazama's helmet, as it seems he wanted her to keep it. Haruto tries to comfort her, thinking it was his fault because if he had insisted that Kazama not go through with the surgery, he would still be alive. But Haruto tells her no, that she isn't to blame for anything, and that Kazama chose to have the surgery to spend more time with her. The atmosphere gets a bit nostalgic, and Eva says goodbye to him, telling him that she won't be seeing him again. The following year, Haruto was happy, and believe it or not, he was in a relationship with Asuka. They prepare something to eat, and Asuka sees a brochure of a beautiful landscape and shows it to Haruto. He decides to get a job so he can take her there and spend some quality time together as a couple. He gets a job at a store and meets Rin. He finishes his work, and it seems Rin was waiting for him, but he notices that Asuka is with him and decides to leave when he sees them together. The next day, Haruto prepares lunch to eat with Asuka and goes to find her. He's surprised to see the door wide open, so he walks in casually, and out of nowhere, Asuka appears completely naked. She gets embarrassed, and just when she tries to hit him, she slips and ends up on top of Haruto. Just when something interesting was about to happen, he gets a call inviting him to a group date. Since he has a girlfriend, he declines, but Asuka, wanting to avoid any trouble, gives him the green light to go, trusting that nothing will happen. Night falls, and Haruto meets up with his friends for the group date. From a distance, he spots Eva and is taken aback by how beautiful she is as they walk into the bar. There, Eva tells everyone that they've known each other for a long time because he was a friend of her ex-boyfriend, Yuzun, which surprises surprises everyone with the coincidence. They were going to have an after party, but Haruto didn't want to worry his girlfriend anymore, so he decides to leave. Eva goes with him, and on the way, they come across a fountain, so Eva jumps in to cool off a bit. They start reminiscing about the old times in Hiroshima, and Haruto gets a bit nostalgic. Time passes, and everyone has to leave, so they exchange numbers to stay in touch. When Haruto gets home, he tells Asuka how the date went, but he never mentions Eva so that Asuka doesn't get jealous. The next day, Swaitozendian goes to work, and Asuka is waiting for him as usual. But then Rin walks in, and Haruto introduces her as Eva's sister. Unfortunately for him, Rin brings up her sister in relation to the date from yesterday. Asuka is surprised to hear this and leaves a bit angry. Haruto follows her and tries to calm her down, saying that nothing happened. Asuka apologizes for her jealousy, explaining that it wasn't really her fault since she was the one who encouraged him to go on the date. Rin kept pestering Haruto, so Yuzin looks for him. It's late, so he accompanies her, and she gets into his head. She asks if Masuke is great, and he says she's cheerful and fun but doesn't quite answer. Rin invites him out to confirm, and Haruto accepts. The next day, he tells Saka that he promised to go out with Rin to an amusement park. She lets him go, but with the condition that he has to buy her a cat charm that's only sold at that park. He was supposed to meet Rin, but when he arrives, he runs into Eva. It turns out Rin had set everything up for them to meet. When they both realize this, they suggest it might be better to leave, but Haruto still seems to have feelings for Eva. Since he has 2 tickets, he suggests they go, thinking he'll have to buy the cat charm for Azuka anyway. Rin is watching all of this, so after a while, she goes to check on Haruto to see how the date went. She starts teasing him like she usually does, but Haruto brushes her off because she's distracting him. Before leaving, she tells him she finds it despicable that he's giving a gift to his girlfriend. When he went out with Eva, his ex-girlfriend gave a gift to Azuka. She was thrilled to see that he remembered her, so they start talking about the trip they had planned. But since Haruto was a bit tired, he collapses between her legs. Azuka thought they were about to get intimate, but then she realizes he just fell asleep. The next day, the conversation about the trip continues, but Asuka seems a bit distant and asks Haruto if he really wants to go out with her. Of course, our main guy tells her yes, since that was the reason he got a job, to spend more time together. Asuka agrees, but Haruto notices that she's being a bit cold. While he's working, he starts to think that Rin might have said something about Eva's date. Out of nowhere, Rin shows up. Since she was passing by, she decides to stop and say hi, and she thanks him for the outing yesterday. She also mentions that she'll be going to the town to visit her parents on August 9th, and asks if he'll be around then. Haruto hesitates for a moment, lost in his memories, but then he replies that no, because he's going on a trip with his girlfriend. Eva gets a bit sad when she hears this, so she says goodbye to Haruto to avoid making him uncomfortable. Azuka can't join the trip. Her mom is sick. Haruto says family comes first. Haruto thinks about Saka's trip happiness but finds Eva's old gift. Days later, Azuka leaves for her mom, says goodbye, and promises to continue later. In the end, Haruto is left thinking about how happy Saka will be with the trip, but he comes across a gift he never got to give to Eva, a present he bought many years ago when they were still dating. After a few days, Azuka leaves to take care of her mother, so Haruto says goodbye, telling him that she didn't like being without him and that when he returns they would continue with what they left pending. Eva's birthday arrives and Haruto remembers the gift he had, so they meet to give it to her, telling her that he had it 2 years ago, and Eva receives it very happily, and since Haruto had to go to work, he runs away thinking that Eva's emotional cycle had already closed. His friends call him to visit. He feels strange as it coincides with Eva's birthday, but they pick him up. But Haruto starts reminiscing about the old times with Eva. As the memories start to weigh him down, he decides to head to a lagoon, the very spot where he confessed his feelings to her. When he arrives, he's surprised to find that she's there too, wearing the necklace he had given her. They're both shocked to see each other since Haruto was supposed to be on a trip with his girlfriend. He mentions that it didn't work out, and they start reminiscing about the good old days, but they're both determined to move forward in their friendship. After a few minutes, they both head to their old school on their bikes, and we see all the moments they shared there, even a memory where Haruto tells her he loved her. Haruto was feeling a bit nostalgic when Rin shows up to bother him even more, saying it was obvious he was reminiscing about all their old times together. All the classmates gather to grab a bite, and Eva introduces her sister. Of course, since she's really cute, everyone compliments her, and Takashi, not wasting any time, tries to flirt with her, but it doesn't go well. Eva helped Haruto with dinner, but they touched hands. Haruto asked Eva for advice. At home, Haruto said they just went shopping. Haruto realizes that it's a bit wrong to be dating his ex-girlfriend, so he asks Eva what he should do. Eva replies that she didn't plan on being with anyone who isn't better than Kazama, and they both get a bit nostalgic. They get home, and everyone asks where they went, thinking they snuck off somewhere. But Haruto clarifies that they just went shopping. Just as he's about to start preparing dinner, Eva calls him over, saying she has something to tell him, something she's been holding back for a long time. But then she thinks better of it and decides not to say anything. The next day, everyone heads to the beach, but coincidentally, neither Haruto nor Eva went, so they end up alone at the house. They start talking, and Eva tells him that they find it more fun to be in the village than to go to the beach, so she invites him to go to the festival together. Meanwhile, the guys were stuck in traffic, so they had no idea if they would make it to the festival. They're about to watch the fireworks, and Haruto keeps getting lost in memories of the past, recalling all the moments he shared with Eva. But he also remembers the happy times he had with Asuka, and he starts to wonder if it's right to be there with Eva. He turns to look at her and sees her crying, so he tries to comfort her, saying that none of it was her fault, that everything she did is in the past because he wants to keep being her friend. He thought that's what she wanted to talk about yesterday, but apparently, it wasn't. Eva confesses that she still loves him, that she tried to forget him but could never do it. Not wanting to get in the way of his happiness anymore, she decides to throw her necklace into the lake to finally let him go. Seeing this, Haruto runs and jumps into the lake to grab it. He tells her that no matter what happens, he wants her to keep the necklace and not to distance herself from him like she always did, because he still wants her in his life. A romantic moment passes, and after a few minutes, Asuka calls him. Asuka is really happy to hear his voice and asks what he's up to, but Haruto lies, saying he's at home and super busy. So, to not bother him, they agree to call each other later, but what he doesn't know is that Asuka is actually at his house. Asuka told him she had come to be with him, but then she realized he was with Eva. Eva tried to talk to him, but Haruto told her not to say anything, so Asuka stepped back. Haruto was so taken aback that he didn't know what to do and just let her go. Haruto is left thinking about what happened when Rin walks in. It seems that Haruto confesses to her that he's really confused, but knowing that Eva still loved him brought back all his feelings for her. However, he feels a bit sad for Asuka, and that's why he doesn't know what to do. He talks to Rin about it, but in the end, she tells him to act like a man, saying that in situations like this, someone is always going to get hurt. The next day, Haruto goes to talk to Asuka, but he literally doesn't know what to say. Asuka tells him to say something, any excuse to forgive him since she's really holding on to him, but she starts crying because Haruto isn't saying anything. He doesn't give her any excuse and tells her he found someone else he likes more, which obviously ends things between them. Asuka hits him for being so cruel and walks away in tears. Haruto goes to see Eva, and she's already found out everything from a call with Akari about how cruel he had been to Asuka. Eva knows he didn't mean to hurt her, so they decide to start their relationship over again, no matter what anyone else says, as long as they're together. Haruto's sister confronts him, saying he needs to talk to Asuka about the situation, but he brushes her off, saying he has to work. As it ends, it starts to rain, and Asuka is heartbroken at home. Haruto walks with Eva and tells her he's moving nearby to avoid living with his sister. Eva joins him. Haruto reassures her not to worry about others' opinions. Later, they start walking, and Eva feels a bit embarrassed, so Haruto reminds her of what they agreed on, that it doesn't matter what others say about them. After a few minutes, Eva leaves, and on his way home, Haruto runs into Asuka. He goes to talk to her and mentions that he plans to move, which makes her a bit sad to hear. She asks if he plans to forget her as if nothing ever happened, and Haruto replies that no, he always believed in her happiness and her charm, so he would never forget her. Asuka confesses that she had never loved anyone as much as she loves him, and if she had known this would happen, she would have never allowed herself to fall for him. But in the end, she knows there's nothing she can do because Haruto has already made his decision, and that makes her really sad. They both leave, and that's why Haruto stays with Eva until the end of time. Well, that's how the anime ends. Some of you are probably going to relate a lot to this, so anyway, see you in about a week. Bye bye.
Let me in, yeah.